pickup, carpenter ants? Well, there's a lot of them. Alright, I should probably get a video of this thing running. Well, probably the last time the old 460 Ford is gonna run in the jet boat, at jet boat anyways. All right, so what's going on right now? Well, as you guys probably saw last time we had this boat out, stringers completely rotted. Which means motor needs to come out to replace those. Which in my case means this motor's not going back in. Which means I'd like to sell it to recoup some money on this project. I posted the whole motor, you know, all these jet boat accessories, the Bassett over transom headers and everything for $4 grand. Didn't get a whole lot of interest, but I did have one guy say, will you sell just the headers? And these are, I think, almost $2 grand new from Bassett. I said, sure. He said, how much? I said, 800 bucks. And he said, I'll give you 900 if you'll ship them down the street to New York. And I said, sure. So now he's waiting to get his boat on the water. I'm gonna hopefully sell these headers for $800-900. Probably part out the rest of the expensive accessories and then just sell this as a 460 long block. We should get probably right at or maybe over our $4,000 asking price, which would be a great start into the new power plant for this thing and our new stringers and everything else. Man, there's a lot of ants in here. What a bummer. Anyways, hopefully by now you guys have seen the other jet boat video that I just bought yesterday, so I'm hoping to get to the lake to use that today, but I need to get these out to the other kid so that he can get his boat on the water. But I also wanted to get a startup video to show the oil pressure and that this thing runs well when we do sell it. So it's kind of where we're at. A lot of things going on this morning, but we got our running video. Now I got to get these off, get them in a box, get them shipped out, and then we can start hopefully pulling this motor maybe in a couple days. So let's get to work. That's a ton of work. Let's start there. We're back on the jet boat today. Got the headers off. Sold those for $900, which is about 15-20% of what I paid for this entire boat here, so that's not too bad. Next on the chopping block is this rebuilt 460. Hoping we can sell this, recoup some of our money for the LS build that we're gonna do. Not only that, but we need to remove this in order to get to the stringers. So I've never pulled a jet boat engine before, but I can't really see it being that hard. It's got two mounts right there, and then I think it's supported by the pump itself there. So I think what I'm gonna do is undo some of the, you know, oil lines and stuff, the electronics. We'll get the battery out of here, and then I think I'm gonna have to back it into the garage because I need to get my engine crane, which I'm worried in the warm weather will sink into the asphalt. So I think I'm gonna try and back this in partially into the lift bay, pull the engine on the concrete, and we'll just go from there. But let's get to work. Good luck, little buddy.
After the big block was out, I spent the next few hours cleaning it up and making it a little bit more presentable for sale. If you guys watched the first video on this boat, you know that it really was a fresh rebuild with 30 thousandths over pistons. You could still see the cross hatching in the cylinder walls, and it even had a serial tag from the place that rebuilt it. Truly a very low hour engine, and I just wanted to make the outside look as good as the inside, which I think paid off, because after a fresh coat of paint, some polishing, and just overall cleaning up of the engine, it sold very quickly for $3,300.
And how do you like that for a rattle can restoration? Shoo!
After that, I moved back into the hull to start clearing out the rest of the stuff that was left in there to get ready for the stringer job. Including, but not necessarily limited to, surge tank, fuel tanks, steering wheel, gas pedal, cooling lines, throttle cables, you name it, I took it out.
You know, it seems like the more projects I acquire for this channel, the more I have to do as far as basic maintenance. But thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Fantic, keeping tires inflated just got a little bit easier. I just got their new X9 Apex inflator. This thing is super compact and super powerful. Fits right in your hand, has a beautiful LCD screen. It's got multiple different modes for all of your different tire and inflation needs. Car mode, motorcycle mode, you can inflate beach balls this summer, basketballs, whatever you got. I noticed the trailer tire on my jet boat project has been going flat since the moment I put new tires on it. I don't know if it's a bead leak or what, but let's go see if this thing can inflate the tire. We're just gonna turn the X9 Apex on, set it to 36 PSI. We're gonna walk away and it's gonna shut off automatically. So boom, tire inflated, absolutely no problem with this thing. The other thing I'm constantly dealing with is low or dead batteries. I'm so busy with the channel, cars and vehicles and trailers and all that are always sitting. The Lightning here is a perfect example. It's been sitting for like 3 weeks since we finished the stereo install. But thankfully I've got Fantic's new potent T10 jump starter. This thing packs a punch, same small handheld size, super easy to use. Just hook up the cables to the battery, plug it into the potent T10 module, hold the button, and this thing is now unleashing all of its power right to the Lightning's battery. Absolutely no problem, and just like the inflator, this thing doubles as a power bank for all of your USB-C devices. If you guys are looking to get your own X9 Apex inflator or your potent T10 jump starter, link's gonna be in the description. Thanks to Fantic for sponsoring this video. Oh, that was fast. The big block is already sold. Got $3,300 for that thing, and it sold in, a couple days, which is awesome because I paid $6,000 for the whole boat. I've sold some various parts in the big block and all that, and I think right now I have less than $1,500 into the boat and hull, which makes me feel a little bit better about the fact that it has rotted stringers. The Panther pump that was just rebuilt that I'm gonna be taking out is gonna be worth a few bucks too. So all in all, we're gonna be into this hull for not a ton of money. Right now, I'm further delaying doing the stringers and the cleanup that's associated with that by talking about the powertrain that is going to be going back in and getting this thing built. If you guys watched earlier this winter, I did kind of a mix video where I tore down this LC9, which is a Gen 4 5.3 LS block that I picked up for like $300. I already sold the truck intake off of it for $200. And so I basically have nothing into this motor, which is extremely cheap because these LC9s are extremely desirable. Which is why I've decided to build this for my jet boat, because I'm going to be doing a twin turbo build on this thing. The goal is to make like 700 to 800 or 900 horsepower stock bottom end LC9. It's actually the same block that's in my 1100 horsepower twin turbo Corvette that's got some forged goodies in it, but there's plenty of guys out there that have pushed these stock bottom end, especially Gen 4 blocks, to over 1,000 horsepower, which is crazy. I'm not looking to get that much, but I've actually got another one in the shed. I've got two of these. I'm going to be building one of them, and then maybe we'll, fully forge and build another one in the background. But this will hopefully get us on the water. So I have not touched this thing since you guys last saw it, if you watched that video, but basically this came out of a running truck that some kid put into a ditch, has unknown mileage on it, probably assume 150,000 or more, but I mean, it's a 5.3 LS. It'll probably run forever if it's been maintained, which this one was. And I know there's going to be guys out there that are like, why did you take the big block out? It's a jet boat. It's got to have a big block. Everybody's doing LS swaps. And what I say to that is, first of all, nobody has jet boats around here, period. They're so hard to find in the Northeast. That's one. Two, everyone that is in the Northeast has a big block. I've never seen an LS swapped jet boat in New England. Third of all, big blocks really don't do anything for me. I was born in the 90s, so that means LSs are like my Chevy small block. This is like the way to go fast for cheap. I've built a ton of LSs. I own multiple LS vehicles. Like, I know them. I know how to work on them. I know how to build them. It's a proven combo that I know I'm going to hit the key. It's going to fire up. I'm not going to be having to change carburetor jets or pump the pedal or, worry if it's going to start or if I have the proper, tuning. It's all done on the computer. That's what we're going with. But before I go too down the rabbit hole, I have had parts stacking up for this motor that have mostly been hiding in the corner of the garage. So let's get those unboxed and you guys can see what I spent my money on recently. Boom! Many doll hairs worth of parts that I ordered back in April, and it's now August. So I'm just kind of now taking inventory and realized that I forgot to order an oil pump. So got to get one of those on order ASAP. But we got all the fixins for a, junkyard LS build. I hesitate to even call it that because this thing is not going to be recognizable when it's done, and this isn't really junkyard parts. But anyways, LS9 head gaskets, OEM lifter trays, got a new timing cover because the DoD motors came with a different one. OEM pickup tube. I think these are Morrill 7717 lifters, so good quality replacement high performance lifter. Of course, got ARP studs. Timing components, mostly OEM, GM, ARP cam bolts. This is a C6 Corvette oil pan, which according to the LS Swap jet boat people is a good option for this application. Brian Tooley valve springs, and this time I usually go with a BTR cam, but Well, it seems a lot of people have been having success with the Summit Cam. We'll talk about this one a little bit more later. I'm tired of talking right now, so let's get to work.
First things first, it's always good to check your oil pickup tube clearance to the bottom of the pan. This is just a basically factory C6 setup, so I don't expect any issues, but always good to check. But before we do that, I remembered that I had broken the dipstick tube off in the block, so needed to figure out a way to hammer or heat or twist that thing out. With the tube up, we can mock up the pan with the gasket, snug it down, and I like to use a little modeling clay. Just put it between the pickup and the pan, snug it down, remove the pan, and check the clearance using a caliper, multimeter, ruler, whatever you got. Looks like we're in spec here. Now it's time to clean up this block so we can get it ready for new head gaskets and some paint. I usually use a razor blade, but one of you guys actually sent me these carbide scrapers which work incredible on these aluminum blocks. I'm going to be sure to be using this on all blocks in the future. Shout out to whoever sent me these, you're a lifesaver.
Was even better, but busy working. Got this thing cleaned up, hastily masked off. The tape is barely sticking because it's so humid, and we're pretty much out of light. Perfect time to paint. Let's do it. Boom! Just like that, she is no longer looking too much like a junkyard engine. The old rattle can rebuild wins again. Follow the exact same methodology I used on my LS3 that's in my 69 Camaro, because after 4 years, it still looks absolutely incredible. Lots of heat cycles. I used this exact stuff. I actually went back and watched a video. So Duplicolor primer, and then their like aluminum engine enamel. Took some time masking everything off, and looks like we got a brand new aluminum block down there. Just threw the oil pan on lightly and masked that off just to make sure we didn't get any overspray anywhere. Same thing with the timing cover. Quickly masked off the water pump bolt holes and whatnot. Put a fuel or a oil filter on there. My C6Z06 Valley cover. This thing is basically ready for assembly now. Also spent some time cleaning the deck surface. You guys saw me use a carbide scraper, some brake clean, and I like to just come back after I'm all done with like some 400 grit and some WD-40 on a really big flat block and just really make sure that it's nice and clean. Not really any pressure. We're not trying to create any low spots. You can still see the factory milling marks on the block. We didn't remove any material, but this thing is now surgically clean, ready for our LS9 head gaskets and some ARP head studs. But everything inside is, you know, empty, gutless. So that's what we're getting to next. Got laid out on the table here. My melling oil pump that I ordered finally came in. This is the, what part number did I get? 100-296 is I think what I got, which is basically their high volume, high pressure oil pump. So should be, I've put this in a lot of builds, including my twin turbo C6Z06, which has gobs of oil pressure. So there's that, there's our timing components. We got lifter trays, lifters, but here is the cam. Like I said, I ordered this in April. It's now August. It doesn't really say on the box. Here's our cam specs, but I believe I ordered the Stage 3 twin turbo cam. So this is the part number 8722R1. Should be stage 3 twin turbo. I probably could have gone stage 2 or even stage 1 just because we're not going to be turning 7,000 RPMs with this thing in a jet boat. But, you know, wanted the chop and should still make great power. So got to get this in and get basically our short block assembled is the next goal. Got to take the oil pan back off, put our pickup on now that we have our oil pump, get the bottom end all sealed up, and then we can move on to the top end.
Well, building the bottom end didn't last too long because, as almost always happens when I'm building an LS, I forgot to order a cam retainer plate, which is one of those while you're in there parts that you'd be kind of dumb not to replace. So I Amazon primed 2 of them just so I'll have an extra one for the next time I run into this. And a couple days later they showed up and I decided to throw in some ARP cam bolts while I was there.
Well, we are almost ready for cylinder heads. The short block is just about complete. You guys have seen me build enough engines at this point to know that I like to chase the head bolt holes. So of course I've got LS bolts from over the years that I cut a groove into, which basically acts like a thread chaser. Gets out all the goop that might have gotten in there over the last 20 years to make sure that we are ready for our ARP head studs. Got my Morrill 7717 lifters in, brand new GM lifter trays. Cam is all in there, timing set is all timed up, new cam retainer plate. Wanted to show you guys why I think it's important to replace these. This gasket gets completely flat, and I mean, some guys reuse these, but I paid $9 for a new one. For, you know, this could be an oil pressure leak spot. So again, if you're gonna be in there, you might as well do that. So all new timing chain, gears, tensioner, or it's not really a tensioner on these LS, it's more of like a plastic thing that prevents the chain from slapping around too much. The oil pan and the timing cover are just kind of loosely bolted on right now because I still need to figure out where I'm gonna put my turbo drains. I found this in my pile of parts, which is a -10, and then this -10 to NPT, so I'll probably try to use up some stuff, but I'm thinking probably right around there. Obviously we want it to be above the oil level of the oil in the pan, but just on there loose for now until I can pop it off, and then we'll weld the bung on, no problem. But we're getting ready for the heads, so I'm chasing these, then we can put the ARP studs in. We'll get our LS9 head gaskets on there. Here are the heads that came with this motor, which is the whole reason I bought this motor. Earlier this spring, man, I guess it was almost 4 months ago. That's crazy. Anyways, I dropped them off. You don't have to do this, but I got the heads resurfaced. You can see that machined finish there. So these are, you know, laser flat, ready to bolt on. I say ready to bolt on. We still need to put on our BTR valve springs, which we could do on the motor, but obviously a lot easier to do on the bench. The other real reason I dropped these off was I was hoping he would like hot tank them or wash them or whatever, but here's what he gave me. Spray wash cylinder head for $16 each. It looks like he just ran a hose over them. Like they're still like very dirty. So I can't be bolting something like this onto a now beautiful non-junkyard engine like this. So I'm gonna first we're gonna take these outside, degrease them, scrub them down. Then I've got some Scotch-Brite here. I've got a brass bristle brush, say that 3 times fast, that hopefully we can clean these up and make them look like a respectable set of cylinder heads. Then we can bolt them on, and then hopefully once the long block is done, we can unbox some of the goodies that I've got from Holley Performance for this thing. I'm so excited about. Maybe, if you guys stick around, we'll even get the Wuhan war whistles on this thing. All right, back to work. down, 14 to go. Well, many hours later, kind of been working on the Cadillac a little bit too, but we have got slightly less of a junkyard set of $7.99 truck heads. Got all 16 valve springs swapped for, well, I guess first we started with degreasing and washing these things. I scrubbed them down, used the red Scotch-Brite pad, and used a brass, basically bristle brush on my drill, and they got pretty clean, but not to where I felt it would look good enough to be on this engine. So I broke down, masked everything off, used the paper gaskets that came with my cheap headers, which we'll talk about probably in the morning, and was able to mask off the exhaust ports, and now these can go in the trash because you should never use those. We're going to use multi-layer steel OEM gaskets. Masked everything off, gave these the same coat of aluminum paint that the engine block got. Same thing with the cathedral ports there, masked those off. Then we did the 16 Brian Tooley Racing 660 lift valve springs with the titanium retainers and locks and all that, new valve seals, everything's nice and clean. Came through and tried to do the same thing that I did on the Camaro, which is kind of polish the front of the machine surface of the cylinder head there, which came out pretty good. There's a little bit of pitting that was too bad that, I wasn't gonna spend all night doing this at the end of the day. Not a machined CNC ported set of heads, but danged, these things look a lot better than they did about 3 hours ago. I'll put up a little bit of a before here. And then an after. Not too bad. These things are ready for some boost, some time on the lake, hopefully. Unfortunately, I didn't have the right attachment for my drill. I don't know where that thing went, but I had to use my little Rupes polisher, so not quite a mirror finish yet, but we could do a little bit more. And we're going to have to, because I just realized that it's a boat, and unlike a car, you're going to be able to see the back of the cylinder heads anyways. Plus, I basically did two of the same head here, so we're gonna have to flip this one around. So we'll focus more on the polishing later. Right now I really just want to get these on the short block. It's a beautiful summer night. I'm enjoying a Sam Summer out of my kegerator. but I'd love to get this thing into, at the very least, a long block tonight, so we can bolt on some of the fun stuff early tomorrow morning, because I got a full day tomorrow too. Hopefully with my white jet boat out on the lake. Anyways, we are ready for the ARP studs. Got our LS9 gaskets on there. Dug up 4 dowel pins. Those are all in. Everything is clean. Just got to wipe down the bottom of the cylinder heads real quick. Put them on, put the studs in, torque them in whatever 3-step process that ARP wants here. And we can seal this thing up as a long block. Let's do it. Woo! Morning. Late one in the garage last night, but man, it's been a while since I've had a late night in the garage. Gotta love it. Doors open, crickets, just some garage tunes and some wrenching. Now we're back out here early in the morning. Instead of beer, we got now coffee and a fully assembled LC9 long block ready for some boost. Minus just about everything, but you know, it's a long block. Got the heads bolted on last night with the LS9 head gaskets and ARP studs, of course. I used to put the studs in first and then maneuver the head gasket over the studs and then the head over the studs, which can sometimes be a pain. But what do you know, if you actually read ARP's instructions, they want you to install the head gasket, install the head, and then put the studs in. And it turns out that's a lot easier. So I've been doing it that way as of recent, and it's not so bad. And then we, of course, do 25 foot-pounds, 50 foot-pounds. And then the last step on the LS motors, at least for this part number, is 80 foot-pounds, and then the top ones are 28. So 3 stages, got them all torqued down. Should be ready for some boost. And quickly just loosely bolted on my, I think this time I went with Jegs brand, but they're all from China, eBay, whatever. These are the same valve covers that I put on just about every LS that I've built recently, just because they look so darn good. Painted these ones gloss black, but yeah, hidden coils, smooth valve covers. Looks like a very traditional V8, so gotta have these. These are finished in like a textured satin or matte black, which looks pretty good, but we might do something else. We'll see. Now let's finally get into some of the goodies I've got to make this thing a complete motor that have been hiding in the parts room upstairs for months now. Let's go open some boxes. probably have more money in parts just right here than I paid for the entire boat. But that's okay, that's what it's all about, right? I've had these boxes from Holley upstairs for months now. So excited to finally dive into them. Most of this stuff in here is fuel system related, which we're still a little bit a ways from. Right here is my Holley Terminator, and my digital display is around here somewhere, but basically all the things we're gonna need to do a full Holley Terminator fuel injection system on my jet boat. So these are gonna be put to the side for probably the next video or maybe the video after that on the jet boat. Right now, we need to focus on finishing up this motor, which comes to these components right here. I went with the low ram Holley intake. So you guys have seen the high ram, you know, for years now. I don't know when they started offering the low ram, but it's kind of, you know, it's good for cars that you want to be able to fit under a stock hood. But I just like how it looks. Sometimes the high ram, when you stuff a big air-to-water intercooler under there, just looks very high to me. So I really like the low ram design. So here's the bottom piece. Here's the lid, if you will. Comes with these beautiful billet fuel rails right here and all the associated hardware. And of course, we've got the matching massive 105 millimeter throttle body to go with it. All your associated gaskets and things like that. And what we're gonna sandwich between the lid and the bottom part here is this absolutely beautiful billet aluminum 1500 horsepower air-to-water intercooler from TIC Performance. Of course, on the lake, we've got an unlimited supply of cold water to keep our air charge cool, so air-to-water intercooler is kind of a no-brainer. This thing is just an art piece, just beautiful billet aluminum. Got our fittings over here ready to go. So this should sandwich between these two, and then obviously that sits right up on the intake here. The Camaro has the full Holley setup, Holley Terminator X, including drive-by-wire. It's mounted in the center console, or under the center console there, and then I've shoehorned the 12.3-inch Pro Dash in there. Huge thank you to Holley for supporting the build and for helping me convert this boat to a modern fuel injection system. I've had the Terminator X installed in the Camaro for years now, and it fires up when you breathe on the key, and it runs absolutely perfect, makes great power. It was kind of a no-brainer as far as converting the jet boat. Customer support from Holley is second to none. If you guys have any questions on what parts go with which, I was on the phone with their tech support figuring all this out. Those guys know their stuff. And now Holley's offering their Terminator X display kit. So it's going to pair your Terminator with the appropriate display. There's no guesswork as far as what goes together. It's going to all come in a neat bundle. And there's a discount if you order it as a package as well. So check them out. Holley.com. You guys know they got everything from engines to suspension to braking to transmissions to fuel components. They got it all. Check them out. All right, let's get this thing assembled. amazing the things you'll do for a thumbnail. If you guys are looking for a custom 2.5-inch V-band to T4 adapters, I CNC machine these things right here. So yeah, hit me up, let me know. Anyways, we are ready to go fast. Hopefully summer 2027. I don't know if it's gonna happen this year or not, but this is basically what I've been dreaming about all these years for my jet boat. First I needed to find a boat, got that. Then I needed to build a twin turbo LS. We've got that here. Basically Gen 4 5.3 with LS9 head gaskets, ARP studs, rebuild heads, and then of course we've got the Holley manifold with the TIC Performance intercooler. All this stuff is just mocked up right now just so I could kind of get a feel for where things were going to go and what things were going to look like. But I still need to buy injectors, got to figure out where the turbos are going to go. I got to obviously do some fabrication to get from a T4 or a 3-inch to a 2.25-inch V-band there. There's a lot to do, but this, I had to see how it looked. This has got my motivation back to 110. These manifolds are from Flash Shark Racing. They make a bunch of, affordable 304 stainless headers, parts for your car. Check them out, the link will be in the description. These are their turbo manifolds. I flipped them so they're now up and forward, or back in this case. They are going to be pretty close to the valve cover here. I don't know how well this paint is going to hold up. We might have to powder coat these or figure out something else, but yeah, pretty affordable stainless turbo headers. They come with these T4 adapters if you were going to do a T4. So pretty happy with these so far. And then for turbos, I went with VS Racing. They've been around for a while now. Again, an affordable, budget-friendly turbo. These are their billet wheel. You can see the billet there. Dual ball bearing, 67, 62, so 67 millimeter compressor wheel, 62 millimeter turbine wheel with a point, I think I did a 0.83 AR turbine housing. Seems like it should be a good combo for a 5.3, similar size turbos to what I have on the twin turbo Z06, and should make this thing scoot pretty good. Gotta be careful where I get the B-roll because right behind the F350 here is the newest project for the channel. So you guys will be seeing that really soon, hopefully this coming week. But man, guys, what a difference between the junkyard engine we started with to now. Obviously there's a lot of money in parts here, but we really didn't spend a ton of money. Basically net $0 on the whole bottom ends and heads, basically. I mean, we got valve springs and seals in there, but all of the money really is up here, and this thing should be good for, I would say, 800 to 1,000 horsepower in its current state with good fuel and good tuning. And plenty of dense, cold air thanks to this air-to-water intercooler. But that is gonna do it, guys. I'm gonna try and get the white jet boat out on the water today, enjoy a little bit of my weekend here. Still a lot of work left to do. In the next video, we are actually going to do what I intended to start in this video, which is the stringers in this boat. We're ready to cut these out. We need to then brace the hull and then put in the new stringers. I have all the fiberglass, all of the wood, everything needed to do so. So it's gonna go pretty fast from there. Thank you guys as always for watching. Don't forget, new merch on the website, the OEM Plus shirt, the muscle shirts and muscle cars tank top for these hot summer days, the original Sullivan & Co tank top plus hats. I got charcoal restocked. Check it all out, sullivan-co.com. I will catch you guys in the next one.